Desperate mom with baby rejected at checkout. Millionaire CEO steps in with a devastating twist. The air crackled with tension on that fateful afternoon. Julie stood at the checkout of the bustling supermarket, cradling her squirming baby in one arm and a few groceries in the other. Her heart raced as she watched the cashier's face morph from polite indifference to pointed disapproval. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but your card was declined," the voice felt like a slap. The other shoppers paused, their eyes piercing through her like icy daggers. Whispers bubbled around her, a symphony of judgment. A sinking feeling pooled in her stomach, a tidal wave of panic threatening to swallow her whole. She was just trying to buy milk and diapers, not win a battle she felt woefully unprepared for. A soft whimper from her baby pierced through her mounting anxiety. She glanced down, her heart breaking at the sight of innocent blue eyes wide open, reflecting her distress. I just need to get these for my little one," she stammered, barely holding back tears. The tension in the aisle tightened, almost palpable, like it was seeping into her bones. Just as she feared all was lost, the unmistakable figure of a man stepped forward. Tall, clad in a tailored suit like he owned the world. Davis Hudson, the billionaire CEO everyone knew. The murmurs shifted. Some gasped, others leaned in closer, eager for the unfolding drama. Who was he? And why was he watching this train wreck? His gray eyes were burning with something she couldn't quite understand, maybe compassion. Or cynicism. Her pulse quickened, and the world around them faded into a backdrop. He spoke, low and smooth, like his voice could calm a storm. "I'll cover it." The words hung heavy in the air, and the clerk blinked, probably unsure if she heard right. "Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." But it didn't stop there. As Davis swiped his black card, gasps erupted. "What's the catch?" someone muttered in disbelief, and the tension shifted like a coiling snake. The air turned electric as he bent slightly, peering into Julie's eyes, which were filled with confusion and disbelief. "You look like you could use some help, and I know the weight of choices, sometimes they come with unseen strings attached." What did he mean? The doubt flickered through her mind, but her instinct screamed for her to trust him. Her thoughts raced, trying to grasp the strands of this dizzying encounter. What was this twist of fate leading her toward? What plan was at play? Was he really just a good Samaritan, or something more sinister? The crowd buzzed around them, their curiosity palpable, and Julie felt like she was caught in a whirlwind, teetering at the edge of a nightmare she couldn't comprehend. But the one thing she knew, her life was about to change forever. What would Davis want from her? What dark secrets lay beneath his smooth exterior? The stunned silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by the faint gurgle of Julie's baby. Her mind raced as she processed Davis's unexpected interference. Did she truly want to accept help from this enigmatic man? She caught his gaze intense and piercing, as if he could see right into her soul. "You're sure?" she managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper, still cradling the groceries as if they were precious jewels. "Yes," he replied, a hint of impatience creeping into his tone. "Trust me. There's no reason to be embarrassed." As he handed the cashier his card, whispers swirled around them like a tornado. Who was she now, some poor victim or a woman needy enough to take charity? Was she setting herself up for a heavy price down the road? The uncertainty flooded her with unease. Still, her baby needed essentials, and she couldn't afford to turn away from this lifeline. The cashier, almost in a daze, finished the transaction, fumbling to bag her items. Julie's heart raced in sync with her thoughts, beating a relentless hammer against her ribcage. She glanced around, meeting the eyes of various onlookers. Some looked curious, others repulsed. Thank you, she finally said, her voice shaky but edged with gratitude. Davis didn't respond, his focus seemingly locked on the baby's tiny fingers reaching out for a semblance of comfort. What was the motive behind his apparent generosity? Let us talk outside, he suggested, his tone shifting from detached to earnest. He gestured toward the exit, a subtle invitation wrapped in a challenge. Outside, the late afternoon sun poured down in slanting rays, casting dramatic shadows as Julie blinked against the brightness. Her baby cooed softly, oblivious to the whirlwind of emotions swirling in her mother's heart. "What do you want from me?" she demanded, unable to mask the tremor in her voice. "Just a conversation," he replied, his cool demeanor unwavering. There was something unsettling about his calmness amidst her turmoil. In that moment, she hated how he made her feel desperate yet alive with possibility. "I can't repay you," she pressed, her chest tightening, fear creeping in. Was this an act of compassion or a carefully crafted game? "Repayment isn't what this is about," he replied, a small smile playing on his lips. "But I might have an opportunity that could change everything for you." Julie's heart dropped, her breath hitching. What kind of opportunity? His expression darkened, the shadows around them deepening. "Let's just say I know a thing or two about taking risks and reaping the rewards if you're brave enough." She hesitated, glancing back at the supermarket doors, the familiar scene now filled with anxiety. Did she have the strength to step into a world that could either uplift her or shatter her into a million pieces? As he leaned closer, his voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "You have no idea what's waiting for you. But if you want your life back, you might want to consider." Just then, a loud crash echoed from the supermarket as a shelf of items toppled, sending a flurry of chaos and concerned voices into the air. Julie's heart raced, the moment shattered by the sudden calamity, a visceral reminder that danger lurked just around the corner. What was that? She gasped, backing away instinctively. The crowd began to stir again, a wave of panic washing through. Davis's expression became suddenly serious, the shadows playing on his face. "This is no coincidence, Julie. We need to get out of here. Now." The urgency in his voice sent a chill sprinting down her spine. What had she tumbled into? Would her fleeting moment of hope lead her straight into disaster? As she turned to follow him, her baby clutched tightly in her arms, a question burned in her mind: what dark secrets was she about to uncover, and would she have the courage to face them? Julie's breath came in quick, shallow gasps as Davis led her away from the supermarket's chaos. The noise of falling items and startled voices faded behind them, but each step she took felt like walking deeper into the unknown. What was he pulling her into? The weight of her baby in her arms suddenly felt heavier, a tangible representation of her growing anxiety. They crossed the pavement and ducked around the corner of the building, where a row of parked cars sat in wait. Davis pointed towards a sleek, dark sedan. "Get in. I'll explain everything inside." "What do you mean explain?" Panic twisted through her stomach. "You haven't told me anything yet. Trust me." He paused, his eyes boring into hers, earnest yet shadowed by something else, a darkness lurking just beneath the surface. "You'll understand once we're away from here." She hesitated, her mind racing through a maze of doubts. The supermarket had felt safe, despite her earlier fears. Out here, in the fresh air laced with tension, every instinct screamed at her to run. But escape was the only option that made any sense. Reluctantly, she climbed into the car, placing her baby carefully in the safety of the car seat. Davis slid in beside her, the car's doors shutting with a somber thud, as if sealing her fate. "Now, about that opportunity," he started, his voice low. "I work for a company that specializes in turning lives around. We offer support, guidance and financial security." "Financial security?" she echoed, her heart pounding. "What's the catch?" "No catch, just work." His tone turned serious. "But it's not exactly what you think. It involves some risk and possibly bending a few rules." Every fiber of her being screamed to jump out of the car, but she felt rooted to the spot. Safety or danger? Desperation hung heavy in the air. What kind of work could he be suggesting? Before she could voice another question, there was a loud bang. Julie flinched, her body instinctively curling tight. She jerked her head toward the sound, heart racing again. Had someone seen them? Stay calm, Davis urged, his voice steady despite the tension crackling around them. We're not alone. People are looking for you and they won't stop until they find you. Who? She cried, feeling the walls of her world close in. Why would they be looking for me? He leaned in closer, lowering his voice to a near whisper. That's what we have to discuss. Your life is at risk now, Julie. What you don't know could cost you everything including your baby. Her breath hitched at his words, the enormity of what he said crashing over her like a wave. What do you mean? But before he could respond, a pair of headlights swooped into view, illuminating the darkening lot. The car's engine rumbled ominously, pulling her attention away from Davis. Shadowy figures emerged, moving quickly toward them, their intentions unclear. Davis's expression hardened. They've come for you. We need to go now. Adrenaline shot through her, but even in this dire moment, a twisted part of her couldn't help but wonder if there was a way out of this nightmare or if she was only plunging deeper into a trap of his making. As they sped off, leaving the parking lot behind, her thoughts tangled in confusion and fear. Who were those people? And what did Davis truly mean by risk? But one haunting question edged out the rest: how did her life spiral to this point, where every corner shadowed danger? The pulse of uncertainty throbbed in her veins as she clutched her baby close, wondering just how far she would have to go to protect them both. And what of the opportunity he promised? Was there a light at the end of this dark tunnel, or was it merely the oncoming train? The car careened around the corner, tires screeching against the asphalt as Davis gripped the steering wheel. The weight of Julie's doubts clung to the air in the cramped space. The baby cooed softly, blissfully unaware of the chaos swirling outside their bubble of existence, but each sound, each jolt, sent a tremor through Julie's heart. What are they going to do? Her voice cracked, echoing her rising panic. Who are they, Davis? They're not who you think they are. He stole a glance at the rearview mirror, as if anticipating the shadows from the parking lot would morph into something more threatening. I'll explain everything once we're away from here. Away from here. The phrase reverberated like a dreadful mantra in her mind. She wanted to scream. To demand the truth. Yet she didn't have the luxury of time. Davis accelerated, weaving through traffic, the city flashing by in streaks of light and sound. Silence swallowed them, punctuated only by the engine's roar and Julie's anxious breaths. You said there's an opportunity. What do you mean? It's hard to explain without context. Davis's gaze was fixed ahead, but she could see the tension in his jawline. Just understand that it's life-changing. You can keep your baby safe. Safe? She spat back, anger boiling beneath her fear. Running away from a group of shadows? I don't even know if you're telling me the truth. With a swift motion, he turned toward her, intensity radiating from his expression. Those people are dangerous, Julie. They'll stop at nothing to get what they want. What could possibly be worth risking everything? Davis paused, his breath heavy with urgency. Everything you think you know about your life isn't real. You are part of something bigger, and they want to silence you. I'm offering you a way out. A way out. The term latched onto her thoughts. Was she really part of something bigger, or was it all a lie? Struggling to maintain composure, she centered her thoughts on the baby. You can do this. You have to protect your child. Where are we going? She bit down on her trembling lip, steeling her resolve. The docks. There's a boat waiting. We'll leave the city. His eyes flickered with a mix of resolve and desperation. But we have to move fast. Just as he said that, the headlights from 4 cars appeared behind them, closing in. Panic twisting into her gut, Julie's heart raced. They weren't just following, they were pursuing. Davis! She shouted, panic twisting through her veins. They're gaining on us. Hold on. He slammed on the gas, the engine groaning as they sped forward. The world outside became a blur of colors, yet all she could focus on was the fear gnawing at her chest, the pressure building like a boiling pot about to bubble over. Turn here. She screeched as they approached an intersection. Her instinct, raw and primal, fought against the overwhelming tide of uncertainty. Davis yanked the wheel, tires screeching in protest as they veered hard to the left. They entered an alley, a narrow passage flanked by graffiti-covered walls. In the rearview mirror, the headlights from the cars behind them seemed to inch closer, relentless shadows chasing her deeper into the abyss. Why did you drag me into this? She shouted, the walls closing around her. What am I really getting into? His eyes darted between the rearview mirror and the road ahead. What I know could save your life. But if we don't get away, you have to promise me that you'll trust me. Trust is a luxury right now, Davis. His voice was a low, urgent whisper, just trust me for your baby's sake. Before she could respond, they rocketed into the mouth of darkness, the sound of engines roaring behind them. What path had she picked in this web of deceit? The suffocating fear escalated, and all she could do was cling to hope as the shadows loomed closer. And when Davis's phone pinged ominously beside her, her heart sank again, desperate to know what new calamity awaited them just around the corner. The phone pinged again, a sharp, cruel reminder that they weren't alone, that danger was closing in. Julie hesitated, glancing at the screen. A single message flashed, we're not done yet. It was from a number she didn't recognize, but the dread it stirred was all too familiar. Davis, what does that mean? Her voice trembled as fear clawed at her throat. He kept his gaze on the alley, his knuckles white as they gripped the steering wheel. Just focus on getting out of the city. We can deal with that once we're safe. Safe? She retorted, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. What does safe even mean anymore? Just trust me. He snapped, urgency sharpening his voice. The relentless engines of the cars pursuing them thundered closer, the sound vibrating through the metal frame of the vehicle. Julie's heart raced, each beat a reminder of what was at stake. She stole a glance back through the rear window. The headlights loomed like hungry predators, a pack closing in. Davis, I can't look. He pointed ahead, and her gaze snapped forward. A set of iron gates swung open at the far end of the alley, illuminated by a pale streetlight. That's our way out. With a quick twist of the wheel, Davis slammed on the brakes, tires screeching as they barely skidded to a stop just inches from the gate. He threw the car in reverse, eyes darting to the rearview mirror. The cars were almost on them, their intentions clear. Get ready, he warned, his voice low and fierce. She held her breath, the baby cooing in her lap, unaware of the crescendo of fear enveloping them. In this moment, Julie had to be strong. What do I do? Get out and run. Davis shouted as he shifted into drive, the engine roaring back to life. I'll create a distraction. Are you insane? She yelled, panic blooming. You can't. Just trust me. Now go. Before she could argue further, Davis thrust the door open and jumped out, adrenaline coursing through him like a lifeline. Julie felt a whirlwind of emotion, anger, worry, fear, until she finally registered the car behind them inches away, headlights blinding her in the dark. Go, Julie. His voice cut the air, more forceful now as he stood between the oncoming cars and her escape. Now. Instinct took over. She grabbed the baby, holding her close, and fled through the gate. Adrenaline fueled her legs, propelling her into the shadows. The alley swallowed her, the stench of dampness and regret clinging to her as she glanced back. Davis stood firm, facing the headlights like a knight against an onslaught. She could see the shapes of figures emerging from the cars, voices raised in ominous shouts. A gunshot rang out, the sound tore through the night air, sharp and jarring. Julie's heart dropped. She froze, breath caught in her throat, horror pooling in her gut. What had just happened? Keep running. Davis's voice called, cutting through the chaos. Get to the docks. You have to make it. Please. Panic surged through her again, starting at her chest and spilling over into her limbs. She pushed herself forward, every instinct screaming at her to survive. The baby's soft whimpers mingled with the chaos behind her, fear and determination fueling her. Mommy's got you. I'm right here, she whispered fiercely, sprinting down the street, heart hammering with every step. But as she turned the corner, she saw nothing but water ahead, shadows dancing eerily along the docks. No boat in sight. Where was Davis? Where was their way out? Desperation clawed at her chest. She could feel the weight of the night pushing down, threatening to swallow her whole. Did she dare linger? Did she wait for him? With a sudden rush of sound, a car screeched to a halt behind her, and she twisted around. The door flew open, and a figure emerged, silhouetted against the dim lights of the street. Julie! Get in! It was a voice she recognized, but the questions clawed at her mind like jagged rocks. Was she ready to trust again? But more pressing was the sound of footsteps behind her, the figures closing in. She had to decide. Then came the last chilling echo of Davis's voice in her mind, trust me. The decision loomed, life-altering and precarious. And as she hesitated, darkness edged closer, leaving only one question, who would fight for her now? Julie's heartbeat thundered in her ears as her breath caught in her throat. The silhouette in front of her grew taller, stark against the backdrop of the soft glimmer from the streetlights. The urgency of the moment kept her frozen, caught between safety and the peril stalking her in the darkness. Julie, Simon. We don't have time. The figure waved, panic clear in his voice. She blinked hard, the shadows flickering in her vision that it was Ethan, a friend from her past, a brief flicker of light in the overwhelming darkness. Despite the surging emotions, clarity pierced through her chaos. Would he help her? Could she trust him? Her mind raced as the footsteps behind her grew louder. Get in. I swear I can get us out of here. With hesitation weighing heavily on her shoulders, she swallowed hard and took a step toward him, cradling the baby tightly in her arms. Davis's voice echoed in her mind, doubt settled like an unwelcome fog. But then the choice was stark. The growl of engines roared ominously, and she could almost feel the heat of danger radiating from the approaching figures. Julie made her decision. With one swift move, she dove into the back seat, barely catching a glimpse of the headlights closing in. Go, go, go! She shouted, her voice barely a whisper of courage. Ethan slammed the door shut, and before she could breathe, the car accelerated, tires screeching against the pavement. The adrenaline flooded her senses as they speeded away. She glanced at Ethan, his jaw clenched tight, blue eyes intent on the road. What are they after? Why now? I wish I had time to explain. He said, hands fixed firmly on the wheel. I just let us get to safety first. The city lights blurred past them. With each heartbeat, anxiety nagged at her. Davis. What happened to him? Ethan's face flickered with an unknown emotion. He's a distraction. We need to focus on escaping. Escaping? What does that even mean? Her voice trembled. I can't lose him. He was trying to save us. The car took a sharp turn, tires screeching as it slid around the bend. Julie felt her stomach lurch. If you know something, tell me. She pressed. You're involved, aren't you? A shadow flickered across his face, but before he could respond, the car lurched over a hump, the sudden jolt catching them off guard. Strong hands gripped the wheel, but she could see it in his eyes, fear and guilt wrestling for dominance. Listen, Julie, there are things you don't know. Things about what he got us into. What? What do you mean? Her entire world spun, a sense of betrayal creeping in. You knew it's not what you think. He answered, raising his voice over the chaos outside. He was trying to protect you. The revelation hit her like ice water, chilling her to the bone. Protect her? Or drag her deeper into a conflict she couldn't comprehend? Another gunshot cracked through the night. Julie gasped, the sound sending jolts of sheer terror down her spine. Ethan swerved involuntarily, barely avoiding a collision with a parked vehicle. Did they shoot at us? She managed to spit out, clutching her baby closer. Fear coiled tighter in her stomach at the thought of bullets flying around. Just hold on tight. He pressed down on the accelerator, determination strengthening his grip. We'll find a way out. The streets blurred like a racing tidal wave, but nothing shielded them from the looming threat still behind. She felt their pursuers gaining ground, a storm of headlights racing like demons unleashed. Then Ethan took a deep breath and said, "We have to confront this, Julie. Whatever it takes." Confront? The word crashed into her consciousness, awakening the fight buried in her emotions. The truth lurked just beneath the surface, threatening to emerge like a serpent. She had to know what darkness tied them together, but then Julie noticed something in Ethan's grip on the wheel, a heaviness in the air. A shadow passed over them, a dark figure looming on the road ahead. "We're not alone," she whispered, dread creeping in. Ethan's gaze shot to the rearview mirror, his face paling in horror. Oh no, it's a trap. Just as he yelled to swerve, the world around them erupted into chaos, the car spun. Tires screamed. And in that moment, everything shifted. Now facing a reckoning that could unravel everything. One question remained: who were they really running from? The world outside blurred into a whirl of colors as the car spun, a heartbeat of chaos amplified by the screech of tires and the thud of their racing hearts. Julie gripped her baby tighter, feeling the weight of their lives hinged on Ethan's next move. Everything felt surreal, as if they were trapped inside a nightmare that refused to let go. Hold on. Ethan's voice erupted, strained and urgent. He jerked the steering wheel to the right, somehow regaining control just in time to avoid a lamppost that loomed ahead. The momentum flung Julie against her door, and she squeezed her eyes shut against the flurry of motion. As the car veered away, Julie dared to peek around. Just behind them, she could make out two vehicles chasing them, headlights piercing through the night like predatory eyes. Each bounce and jolt reminded her of the gravity of their situation. Why are they after us, Ethan? What did Davis do? His jaw clenched as he leaned down to accelerate, the engine roaring like a wild beast. It's not just about Davis anymore. They want you, Julie. What? Me? She gasped, the betrayal cutting deeper. Why would they want me? His fingers tightened around the steering wheel, knuckles white with pressure. He thought bringing you into this might keep you safe. But it only made things worse. Anger ignited in her chest, melting into fear as the truth began to settle. You mean I've been a pawn all along? Did you ever consider what I wanted, Ethan? What if I do want to help? He shot her a pained glance, but the panic in his eyes made it evident that now wasn't the time for heart-to-heart discussions. We'll talk later. Right now, we need to lose them. The second vehicle veered closer, a sleek black SUV with tinted windows closing the distance like a predator stalking its prey. Julie's heart thudded painfully. We can't keep going like this. We're running out of options. Trust me, just a little bit longer. He urged, his voice catching as he turned sharply onto a dimly lit side street, the sudden shift threw Julie against her seatbelt, the baby whimpering in response. She reached back instinctively, whispering soothing words through trembling lips to calm him. Her gaze flicked to the rearview mirror, dread pooling in her stomach as the SUV closely followed them, an unyielding shadow weaving through the narrow street. Look, there's an alley. Ethan pointed ahead, determination plastered across his face. We can lose them if we. Before he could finish, a sharp crack echoed in the night. Julie jumped, the sound striking deep, resonating through her bones. A gasp escaped her lips as she watched the windshield shatter, glass exploding in a mosaic of shards, slicing through the air like deadly rain. Ethan recoiled, instinctively covering his face, the panic transforming into brutal clarity. "They shot at us!" she screamed, heart racing with cold terror. "Ethan, we have to get out of here. Keep your head down," he barked, grim determination sparking in his eyes. He veered towards the alley and slammed on the brakes just as they hit a pile of trash bags, the car jolting violently but still breathing for escape. Breathless, Julie felt the weight of her choices crash down amid the splintering glass and blaring adrenaline. "We can't stay here. We need somewhere safe." "I know," Ethan responded, heart pounding against his ribs. He quickly scanned their surroundings, searching for an exit in the web of treachery around them. But as they crouched in silence, broken glass glittering like shattered stars around them, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed, heavy and deliberate. "Julie, I need you to listen very carefully," he whispered, eyes wide. "We're not alone. They're coming." The footsteps grew closer, a sinister cadence that gripped them both with fear. With a sudden jolt, the back door swung open, and a figure loomed against the night, silhouetted by the dim light from the street. "Get out," the figure commanded, voice rolling like thunder through the silence. In that split second, uncertainty twisted inside her. Who was this new player in their dangerous game? And more importantly, was this someone who could save them, or was it yet another hand reaching for their destruction? Julie's heart raced, a drumbeat of raw fear echoing in her ears. The figure at the door shifted slightly, revealing a rugged face, hardened by shadows and the strain of pursuit. He wore a black leather jacket, and the glint of a gun was visible at his side, hidden until now. Something in that wild gaze made her blood run cold. "Get out now, or I'll drag you," he reiterated, and there was an urgency in his voice that sent chills down her spine. Ethan exchanged a quick look with her, weighing their options in an instant. Run, or risk being caught? "No," Ethan shouted back, springing forward in defense. "We're not going anywhere with you." The man's eyes flicked toward Ethan, muscles taut as he stepped forward. "I can't let you stay here. They'll come for you both." "Who are you?" Julie demanded, her voice trembling but fierce. "Someone who knows what's coming and it's bad, trust me." He glanced over his shoulder nervously, like a rabbit sensing the wolf closing in. "I don't know if we can trust you," Ethan replied, fists clenched. "You don't have a choice," the man snapped. "You're in deeper than you realize, and those cars behind you are just the beginning. If you want a chance, you need to move." Every instinct screamed at them to run, but uncertainty was a heavy anchor. The sound of tires screeching and distant shouts echoed on the street outside, wrapping around them like a noose tightening, urging them to act. Julie felt the heat of desperation rise within her chest. "We can't just leave. What if this is a trap? What if there's no time?" The stranger hissed, eyes darting. 5 seconds, and they'll be here. History is knocking on your door, and it's time to decide." "History?" She frowned, confusion mixing with the urgency of the moment. What could this man know that they didn't? "Just listen to me. I know a safe place," he insisted, tension woven into his words. "But you have to hurry. Get out of the car." As if on cue, a pair of headlights turned the corner, bright beams illuminating the alleyway and rapidly approaching. Panic grabbed hold of Julie. She glanced at Ethan, searching his eyes for reassurance, his expression indecipherable. "You trust me?" he asked, voice low but steady. "I have to," she answered, the weight of his presence grounding her. "For the baby's sake." With that, they both moved towards the door, uncertainty swirling. Julie took a moment to wrap her sweater tightly around the baby and steeled herself, preparing to step into the waiting storm. Just as they emerged, the man's arm shot out, gripping Ethan's shoulder with fierce intensity. You should know, he warned, voice unyielding, they don't just want you out of the picture. They want your baby too. Stunned, Julie felt the world tilt off the edge. What do you mean? Why she hadn't finished her question when the echo of gunfire erupted, stunning in its finality. A new immediacy pressed on them, fear coiling tighter with each heartbeat. The man pulled them into the shadows as chaos erupted. Ethan instinctively shielded Julie and the baby, protecting them with every fiber of his being. The sound of bullets ricocheting sent panic coursing through her veins, but she had no time to think, only to survive. Go! The man yelled. This way! They dashed down another slender alley, hearts pounding a frantic rhythm in their chests. In the distance, shouts and the rumble of engines crescendoed, a cacophony of fury and chase. Julie's mind raced, flooded with questions. Who were they fleeing from? What did this man know? And what awaited them at the end of this dark path? Just then, the man skidded to a halt before a rusted door obscured in shadows. He turned back, eyes fierce and urgent. You need to trust me completely. There's no going back, and what lies ahead may change everything about who you think you are. The moment hung heavy between them, charged with dread, yet pulsing with the flicker of hope. Ready? He asked, his voice a low whisper against the roaring chaos behind them. Was she ready to step into the unknown? To risk it all? And what if this was only the beginning of a darker game? What would she sacrifice to protect her child? In the fleeting moment before she stepped through that door, the question thrashed in her mind: could they truly escape the monsters in the night, or had they only entered a more dangerous realm? The door creaked open, revealing a dark, cramped space behind it. Flickering fluorescent lights struggled to maintain a steady glow, casting erratic shadows on the walls. Julie hesitated at the threshold, panic clawing at her throat. The stranger shoved them inside, urgency propelling them forward. Stay close, he commanded, his voice a low growl. He slammed the door shut, sealing off the madness surging outside. The sound of gunfire echoed muffled behind them, but the tension clung to the air like fog, thick and suffocating. Where are we? Ethan asked, his voice edged with anxiety. An old storage facility, the man replied, scanning the room for threats. We need to keep quiet while I figure out our next move. The low hum of the fluorescent lights carried a sense of impending doom as Julie held her breath. The place was bare, boxes and debris littered the floor, and the smell of damp concrete filled her senses. She glanced at Ethan, worry etched on his face, and then looked down at their baby, still cocooned in her sweater, peaceful despite the chaos. Why do they want us? Julie found herself whispering, fear tightening her chest. What does that man want with our baby? He gritted his teeth and glanced toward the door. I don't know everything, but there are those who see children as commodities, especially in this world. They think they can control destinies by controlling bloodlines. Julie felt her heart drop. Each word unfurled a new layer of horror. Could there be more at stake than just their lives? She squeezed Ethan's hand, needing his strength as dread bubbled up inside her. Listen, we need to act fast, their guide interrupted, his tone suddenly serious. There's a route to the back. If we can get to the next street without being seen, we might have a chance. What about the people chasing us? Ethan challenged, anger surging. You promised us safety, and now you're talking about sneaking out. I'm not your enemy. The man shot back. I've been on the run too. I'm trying to help you, but you have to trust me. Your lives depend on it. A noise from outside interrupted them, shouts and footsteps growing closer. Julie's heart slammed against her ribs. The urgency was palpable. It's now or never. The man insisted, his eyes narrowing in determination. Julie exchanged a panicked glance with Ethan. The fear in his eyes matched her own. They both knew they couldn't stay fit to face whatever lurked outside. But what lay ahead terrified her. Let us move, Ethan said, determination bursting forth, pulling Julie along. They scurried to the back of the room, a sense of impending doom closing in. The man led the way, staying low, adrenaline surging as they moved. Each step felt like a countdown, a race against time. As they approached a heavy metal door, the man paused. "I'll go first and make sure it's clear," he advised. With a nod, he slipped through the door and disappeared into the darkness beyond. Moments stretched an eternity of silence and fear. Julie felt sweat trickle down her back as she tightened her grip on her baby, the small body vibrating softly against her. "The longer we wait," Ethan started, but his words hung heavy, charged with unspoken dread. Just then, the man reappeared, eyes wide with alarm. "They're here. We need to go now." They rushed through the door into a narrow hallway that wound deeper into the building. The flickering lights behind them gave way to creeping shadows, swallowing their escape. A loud crash echoed from the room they had just fled, the unmistakable sound of desperation clawing at the walls. "Run!" the man shouted, urgency gripping him. They darted down the corridor, hearts racing and breaths shallow, knowing it could be the difference between life and death. But as they pushed forward, Julie's mind buzzed with questions. What were they running into? Who were the people chasing them, and would they ever find peace? At the end of the hallway, they reached another door, a doorway to a new fate, but as the man held it open, hesitation gripped them. "Are you ready for the truth?" he asked, eyes glinting with an intensity that made her stomach twist. What truth lay on the other side? Would it shatter the fragile world they were desperately trying to hold together? As they stepped through, Julie clung to Ethan's hand tighter than ever, an unspoken promise forming between them. Whatever awaited them, they would face it together. But this new world was just beginning, and the horrors that lurked might be more than they could ever have imagined. The cool night air rushed in as they stepped through the door into a hidden alley, narrow and dimly lit. Panic thrummed through Julie's veins like an electric current. With each step, she felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on her. The stranger, still leading the way, paused, breathing hard as he scanned the shadows. "Listen," he said, urgency lacing his voice, "the longer we stay out in the open, the greater the chance they'll find us. We have to keep moving." Ethan glanced at Julie, his expression tense. "What do we do next?" he asked, his voice heavy with the gravity of their situation. The man met Ethan's gaze, determination flickering behind his eyes. "There's a safe house close by. Once we get there, we can regroup and I'll explain everything." Julie instinctively tightened her grip on her baby, feeling the small warmth against her chest. She couldn't let fear dictate her any longer. "And if they catch us?" she pressed, trying to keep her voice steady despite the tremor of dread. The man's eyes darkened. "Then it'll be too late. They'll take everything." The statement hung in the air, a grim warning that tightened her throat. The three of them moved quickly down the alley, guided by the man's instincts. Barely a whisper escaped their lips, but the sound of distant conversations lingered in the night, the muted chaos a constant reminder of their close calls. The shadows felt alive, and with each step, the threat trailed close, lurking just beyond their view. Suddenly, the man halted, thrusting himself against a wall as he peered around the corner. The street was dark, but headlights sliced through the fog-heavy air like blades. "This is it." He turned to them, a fierce spark igniting in his gaze. "We need to dash across the street. Follow my lead, and stay low." Julie felt her heart pound violently in her chest. Everything hinged on this moment. "Go," he commanded, darting forward without waiting for an answer. They sprinted after him, breaths ragged in their throats. Feet pounded against the ground, a rhythm of terror and hope mixed together. A spurt of speed, and they crossed the street, heartbeats echoing in sync. Into the building. The man shouted, and they ducked inside a narrow doorway. Once inside, silence engulfed them. The cramped space was faintly illuminated by dim overhead lights, revealing a small office cluttered with old papers and an overturned chair. "What now?" Julie asked, keeping her voice low. "Close the door," the man instructed, urgency etched across his face. We can't risk being overheard. They'll be looking for us before he could finish. A cacophony of voices erupted outside, the unmistakable sound of footsteps converging from multiple angles. They're here. The man mouthed, rushing to the window to peer outside. Who are they? Julie pressed, fear flooding her voice. The man turned back, his expression stern. People who will do anything to get what they want. You have to trust me. A moment of hesitation can turn fatal. Ethan stepped closer to Julie, urgency in his eyes. We can't stay trapped here. Right. The stranger agreed. There's a back exit. It leads out to the alleyway behind. Screams erupted outside, followed by the sound of shattering glass. A jolt of panic surged through Julie. She clutched the baby tightly, her heart racing. Now! The man yelled, yanking them toward the back of the office. They stumbled through a cramped corridor, adrenaline propelling them as shots rang out behind them. Ethan shielded Julie and the baby, his body acting as a buffer against the chaos unfolding outside. Where's the exit? Julie gasped, panic rising in her throat. Here. The man flung open a door, revealing a narrow staircase leading down. Go. They sprinted down the stairs to the basement level, heavy footsteps ringing above them. The acrid smell of damp cement filled her lungs as they finally reached the bottom. The stairway opened up to a dark room. There's a tunnel through here, the man said, motioning to a rusted door in the shadowed corner. It leads out to the riverfront. Julie gripped her baby close as adrenaline surged through her. What if they find us first? They won tea. But you need to be quick right after you. Ethan hesitated just a moment before pushing forward. We have to keep moving. They squeezed through the door and into the darkness. The air was cool and musty, the low sound of water trickling somewhere ahead guiding them. Where does this lead? Julie whispered, urgency creeping in. Freedom, the man replied, gritting his teeth in focus as they pressed forward through the narrow passage that wound through the earth. Every step felt like a leap into the unknown, moments stretched into an eternity. The echoes of their footsteps resonated against the stone walls like a sorrowful dirge. Just as the tunnel steepened, they heard voices again just a few yards from their exit. Julie's heart sank in terror. Stay down, Ethan whispered, his eyes fierce with determination. The voices grew louder, clearer. A group was approaching the tunnel entrance. Someone's definitely down here, a man's voice shot through the air. We can't let them escape. Frantic, the man leading them turned quickly. We're almost there. Just a few more steps. They slipped into an adjacent pocket of the tunnel, hidden from sight. The pounding of Julie's heart echoed loud in her ears. This couldn't be the end. Not now. Just as despair threatened to creep in, daylight flickered in the distance, a glimmer of hope. Now. The man hissed, urging them on. They scrambled toward the end of the tunnel, adrenaline taking over as they burst through the opening and into the light. The night air felt electric as stars twinkled against the inky sky. But that glimmer quickly dimmed when they noticed the chaos erupting outside, cars, shouts, and shadows moving like phantoms. Down to the river. The man ordered, gesturing toward the edge of the docks. There's a boat waiting. The urgency in his voice propelled them forward. But just as they reached the edge, headlights swung around, illuminating the dock with a harsh spotlight. Stop right there. A voice boomed from the shadows, sending chills racing down her spine. Julie's breath caught, her body trembling. Ethan. Run. He shouted, pulling her toward the boat. Panic surged, drowning her thoughts in a frenzy. Davis's warning echoed in her mind. Who was she supposed to trust now? Get in. The stranger urged, holding out his hand as Ethan pushed her onto the boat. Once inside, Julie looked back, her heart sinking as shadows closed in. But then Ethan jumped in beside her, determination etched on his face. Go. He yelled at the stranger, who hastily started the engine, propelling them away from the dock. they sped into the glimmering darkness, the chaos behind them fading into haunting echoes. The racing water splashed against the hull, a symphony of wild freedom. As they sailed into the night, the weight of fear began to lift, replaced by the fragile thread of hope. But as the city lights faded, one question lingered: what awaited them on the other side of this new beginning? With a collective breath, they turned their thoughts inward, knowing that wherever they ended up, they were together, and for now, that was enough. This is where Julie finally let out a breath, feeling the pulse of safety cradling them. But with that calm felt, a storm brewed deep within, reminding her that the fight might not be over. In the quiet of the night, she leaned close to Ethan, their fingers intertwined, grounded in a promise that they would face whatever came their way together. Only time would reveal what destinies awaited them and how far they would have to go to reclaim their lives. With a steely resolve forming, Julie whispered into the night, a soft vow against the wind. "We will find our peace. No matter what." The boat surged forward into the unknown, gliding toward the horizon as the tale of confusion, fear, and fierce hope began to weave its way into their futures, intertwining lives once lost but now furiously fighting against the current towards a brighter day. As they navigated the watery expanse, their roots grew deeper with each heartbeat and shared breath, tethering them together stronger than before. In the face of uncertainty, they found courage, and in the depths of darkness, they found the light. And together, that would carry them forward. You need to subscribe now to follow their journey. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, helping us reach others who need to witness this powerful conclusion. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What do you think is next for Julie and Ethan? And don't wait even one more second to share this incredible story with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.